Welcome to this lesson where we will be painting these lemons. You can find the template on my Instagram page, Trace the Moon, and trace it over your watercolor paper. I'm using a 100% cotton cold pressed paper from Centenaire. When you have it on your paper, you can start erasing the pencil lines. Then water all your greens in your set, or maybe you are creating your own with blue and yellow. Then pick out your favorite brush. I am using my favorite brush from Da Vinci. It's the Harman Kolinsky size 5 and 2 detailed brushes also from Da Vinci. Starting with my sap green color. Laying down enough on the palette. Then my dark green. Some olive green you can also create yourself with sap green and yellow, and a pastel green, just add some white to your green. Also add some red on your palette just so you can take your different greens to another level. Add some extra water to your sap green or your lightest green, and then just lay down a light layer on the stem of the leaves, just a little green branch. And if you are stopping somewhere which is going over into a leaf, just clean your brush and go over the same area that is flowing over into the leaf. Otherwise you will get a hard line over there. Then I'm laying down some pigment on the beginning and on the side of the leaf. Then dip my brush in the water and just fill in the whole leaf with a light wash. Also on this one, get some extra for on the side. Dip my brush in the water and fill in the whole leaf. Repeat these steps with all the leaves. This one in particular has a more shadow, so I'm adding a little bit of dark green already, but you can also do it in the next layer. Dip my brush in the water, fill in the whole leaf. Same for this one. More pigments at the beginning and on the side. Dip my brush, go alongside the pigments. Dipping my brush again. If you have too much water on your brush, just make sure you dip it a little bit on your paper on the side, because otherwise you are pushing away your pigments to the sides. You just want a wet brush, not a soaked brush. Some olive green for this leaf. You can play around with different colors of greens. Don't make every leaf the same, because in nature not every leaf or every petal on a flower is the same color, so you can just mix around with your colors. When you covered all the leaves in a light wash, we will be using some red in our greens to do the second layer. So just a tiny bit of red into your green, and we are laying it down on the sides and on the top of the branch. Dip my brush in the water, and I'm going along these pigments and just spread them a little bit to the sides. Get some different greens also over here. Then moving down to the inside of the leaf, we will be laying down the veins with negative painting technique. And therefore I'm using the pencil line we laid down in the template. I will be painting also the side veins. Just see what I'm doing over here and also with the next part, so you exactly see what I mean with it. So for the second part, we have to leave a little bit of space between the two compartments, so we have a negative vein. Starting here in the corner, going to the sides, leave a little bit of space between the two compartments. Make sure you also bend your compartment with the leaf. like so. Then the left side and the right corner are a little bit more pigmented, and on the inside we just add some water. You can add a little bit more of a darker pigment into the corners right over here while it's still wet. Then a third compartment on the right side. Also leave a little bit of space going upwards to the point of the leaf and just fill it in. Leave a little bit of space, clean your brush, and go over that little part you left out, so like this. Repeating the same steps on the other side, we are going to paint 3 compartments, but also on the inside we have to leave a little bit of a gap to paint also the center vein negative. So we aren't actually painting the vein, but we are leaving space so it looks like a vein. Clean your brush, go over the inner part that you left out. Then the second compartment, leaving space between the side veins and also the center vein, and reconnect them on the side of the leaf. Let it bend a little bit upwards so it looks natural. Don't make them too straight. Just pick up a little bit of pigment in the middle part if it's too dark. Then for the third compartment, leaving some space again between the side veins and also the vein in the center. Going upwards. And I'm leaving a tiny bit of area left out on the top for just a tiny compartment over there. And don't worry if your leaf seems a little bit flat or too light. We will be painting a third layer where we will add more depth into the leaves. This last compartment should connect the two sides with each other, like so. And there you have painted negative veins. We are going to repeat this with the third layer, but then with a tiny bit of a darker color. So you can add more dark green or you can add a little bit of red. Also play around with your olive green within different compartments. And then for the corners you are going to lay down your darker green, and then inwards of the compartment is going to be a lighter. So again, a little bit of a darker green here in the corner. Don't go over your veins. Get some water on your brush, smear it out to the inner part of your compartment. Then here on the right side, also a little bit of a darker color. I am playing around with my olive green over here, just to give it more color into one leaf. Picking up a tiny bit of pigment over there. So again, the darker green in the corner, going alongside your veins, going upwards, tiny bit of olive green here at the tip of the leaf, working my way to the other side. Again, the dark green in the corner alongside my vein over here, also on this side. Get some water on my brush. And then also here on the outside with extra pigment. And pick up if it's too much running into the middle part of your compartment. Keep repeating these steps throughout the whole leaf. And with a clean brush, connecting these two points. After this layer, if you feel like it's still flat or too light, just go over it again until you're satisfied. And repeat this with every leaf you have on your template. You have to think ahead where your vein needs to be or where you want it to be. Don't make it too wide as well. A vein should be very thin. Then for the other side, don't forget the middle part of the vein. Leave a small gap over there. Make a round vein towards the top. Let it flow with your leaf. Make it natural. There's a little bend here in the leaf. Last compartment for this one. And going over in the second layer, creating that extra darkness in the corners. And also underneath the vein, a little bit extra pigment. Then dip my brush in the water. Make sure your brush is not too wet, and then spread out your pigments. You can add a little bit of the olive green here on the outside. Same for this side. Some extra pigments here on the side. Then these steps you will be repeating on every leaf. Then there are also leaves that are behind the lemons. So let me show you how I do one of them. So actually it's quite the same. You still have to think about where the center will be. This one is a little bit bended, so I am not really in the center of the leaf, but more on the left side will the center be. So here I am placing one of the side veins and still bending my center leaf with the leaf to the top. The part that is behind the lemon is a little bit darker than the rest of the leaf because there is where more shadow is. A tiny one over here. So it's quite the same as all the other leaves. Make sure that your center is not too wide. Tiny vein on this side. And then of course also the third layer for more depth in your leaf. Take your time painting all the leaves, then when you're ready come back and then we will be painting the lemons. First we are going to create our colors of course. Maybe you have all the yellows on your set, maybe you have to create them yourself a little bit. And of course I will tell you if you have to mix something and how you can mix it. Starting off with a yellow probably everyone has on a set, and that is your cold yellow. You have cold yellows and warm yellows. This is my cold yellow. It is called cadmium yellow. I also have some warmer yellows. If you don't have those, just add a little bit of orange or a tiny bit of red to your yellow. So you will have around 3 different kind of yellows. Then I'm also taking a little bit of my golden deep orange here on the sides, a little bit of my yellow ochre. If you don't have yellow ochre, you can also create it yourself with your yellow and a little bit of burnt umber, burnt sienna or raw sienna or any brownish color you have. I also put them here on the side and a tiny bit of a purple color. With the purple we can just mute our yellow if we want to. Starting off with my lightest yellow, I am watering it down, so we want a really light wash for our first layer. So I'm laying down the pigments mostly on the side and underneath the leaves. Going more inwards, also on the other side, and we want to let this middle part of the lemon open. So when we are going to dip our brush later in the water, we will be going inwards of the lemon, but we want a very light spot over there, so it seems like the light is falling on that side of the lemon. Then cleaning my brush, and then with a round motion, I'm going around this spot. So it's the lightest area of your lemon. If it's still too dark, just clean your brush, dip it on your paper towel, and then go over that area to pick up most of the pigments. Then with a slightly darker color, when your lemon is dry, you can go over the sides again, underneath the leaves, going more downwards on this side as well. If you are using your wet on dry technique, make sure your first layer is dry. If you are using wet on wet technique, then you have to keep your paper a little bit more damp. I am using the wet on dry technique. Dip my brush in the water, going alongside my pigments, going in a circular motion. Dipping my brush again. You really want to keep this area light, but also fill it in every time, even if it's just with a little bit of water. Then I'm getting my warmer yellow. Maybe you have mixed it with a little bit of orange, especially here underneath the leaves, where most of the shadow falls. Here on the side, which will make your lemon look more round. Just pick up a little bit of my pigment over there. I am mixing the tiniest bit of purple and yellow ochre into my yellow, so we can create a shadow color over here. Dip my brush in the water, and again, for all these layers your paper has to be dry or just a tiny bit damp if you're using the wet on wet technique. Then again, going over this area, keeping the middle part the lightest with a clean brush. If your water is too dirty, make sure you have a clean glass of water where you can create this light area with. Now my paper is still a little bit damp, and I'm just adding a tiny bit of darker color here on the side. This is my yellow ochre with the tiniest bit of burnt sienna. You can just add the tiniest color changes in every layer until you're satisfied. Don't go too dark right away. You can always add some color, but you cannot take it away when it's dry. A little bit of a burnt sienna here on the side, which is a brownish color. Also here in the corner, especially around the leaves, because there's more shadow over there. A little bit here on the side. Don't go too much inwards of the lemon. Now my lemon is still a little bit damp. I am going to add a little bit of my yellow ochre mixed with a tiny bit of burnt umber and make some little dots on the inside of my lemon. And I mostly put them in the darker areas. Then for the other lemons, we will be repeating this same step. So starting with our light yellow with lots of water. We're filling in this whole area. And the same on this side. And here we leave a little gap for the lighter area. Clean your brush and go over that gap we just left. We can work on 2 lemons at a time, so when you are letting this one dry, you can work on the other lemon. Going further with the second layer, getting my darker yellow or my warmer yellow. I will be filling in this whole area, and then when we're done filling in, I will be cleaning my brush. Make sure it's only just a little bit damp, so dab it on your paper towel and then pick up some of the pigment. You can do it right now, or you can just paint this area first. Just pick up a little bit of the pigment over here. Like so. And let it dry. You can work on your other lemons in the meantime. And the lighter area will be on the right side of this lemon. Don't forget this little spot over here. Then with a clean brush, going over the light area. Clean my brush again and just pick up some pigments if it's too much. Then with a little bit of purple in my yellow and a little bit of yellow ochre in my darker yellow, we are going to create the shadow areas, which are mostly around the leaves and on the side, of course. Dipping my brush, going alongside the pigments, leaving a small gap, then clean my brush and going on the leftover gap. Then on the right side, the same color, going on the side of the leaf and on the side of the lemon. And again, don't make it too dark. You can always go darker in a third layer. Same for this lemon. Keep repeating the steps, leaving the same gaps for the light areas, but I'm adding an extra light area here on the left side. Go in a circular motion on your light areas. With a clean brush, fill in this spot. Just adding a tiny bit here on the sides. Then for the third layer, I created a little mix with my yellow ochre, a little bit of burnt sienna, and of course some yellow to create some more shadow color for underneath the leaves and a little bit on the sides. And with a clean brush, I go alongside those pigments to lay them down over here. Clean my brush. Make sure that your brush is not too wet while you're going alongside them. And create a little bit more of a depth into your lemon. Also on this side. Alongside this side of the leaf. Clean my brush. Then go along the pigments. Make sure it's still round over there. The same for this lemon. Just a little bit more over here. There falls a lot of shadow there, so you can go a little bit darker. You can add a little bit of your burnt umber or your burnt sienna. Also over here is a lot of shadow. Underneath this area. Also a lot of shadow falls over there. Clean your brush and just make sure you fill in the entire area as well. And don't forget the little tiny dots. Don't go too overboard. You can also add if you want to. I'm adding a little bit over here. Also for this lemon, just a tiny bit in the light areas, but mostly in the dark areas. So the lemon I painted at first, I find it a little bit too light over there. So I'm adding a tiny bit of my yellow over here. With a clean brush, I go alongside the pigments. Just make sure you don't get any hard lines. Just adding a bit over here. Also with a clean brush. So the same goes for the other two lemons. When you're ready, come back to the video and we will be painting the background. I have a sandy color over here. You can create it yourself with lots of whites and a little bit of your sepia color if you have it. I will be painting a blue stripe background. You can also do a very light blue and a dark blue stripe or a pink stripe, whatever you feel like doing. I am using this sandy color and then a blue color. So the lightest color you can go over the whole background, and then for the other stripes we are going to use some washi tape. If you don't have washi tape, you can also use Scotch tape. Just be careful with it. Sometimes it's a little bit harsh on your watercolor paper. Or have a really steady hand to create the lines yourself. When your background is fully covered, you can create your second color. I will be creating a blue color. So for my blue, I'm using my Windsor blue. I added a tiny bit of white to it, but I want a little bit darker blue. Add lots of water and make enough of the color. You don't want to run out halfway your background, just make enough. I think this is the color I am going with. Then the washi tape part. I will be washi taping from the second row on. So here I'm placing my first row. Just be careful, make it straight. Go alongside your lines. My washi tape isn't thick enough for the line, so I'm doing a second row next to it. And do this with every other row. So leaving one and then taping the other one. You can go over your lemons, no worries there. Make sure it's straight. Last row. And I'm taking my blue color and I'm painting all over this row. Don't go too dark because I am going to do a second layer, maybe a little bit darker. I'm using a mop brush for this because it can hold a lot of pigments and water. If you don't have a mop brush, just use your biggest brush. Be careful around your painting, of course. You can use a smaller brush if you want to go around your lemons. Just be really careful. Don't forget all the small areas. And watch out with the paint that is laying on top of your washi tape because it's not drying very well. So you can take it away with a paper towel. Just don't go over it with your hand and then place your hand on your watercolor paper. Believe me, I did it, and it's just such a shame of your artwork. Last row. Then for the second layer, you can lay down a little bit of a darker color just on the sides. And then with a clean brush, I'm going along the sides. So keep the middle part the same color as you did in the first layer. So a little bit along the side, then go alongside it with a clean brush. And then when you're ready, you can remove the washi tape and see all those perfect lines happen. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more of these lessons. And you can always share your artwork with me on Instagram. I would love to see what you made of it. I hope to see you next time. Have a nice day.